Hello, my name's Andy Nelson from Watson Seeds. We're here at Cogarth, my farm, in a field of Caledonian Kale, which I use for my Angus cross suckler herd. The variety this is Caledonian. We chose this because of its high stem to leaf ratio. This was late sown this year because of the weather in the late spring. We didn't get this into the middle of June. We disked the field 3 times because it's quite a stony land. Ploughing isn't an option up here, so we disked it, sowed it with the Ironbock harrows and Cambridge rolled it. Last year, before we decided to sow this field, we checked the pH. The pH was about 6.2. P&K indices were 2. We sprayed it off end of May with Roundup and waited till it was well enough burnt off, but it was a late season, so we didn't get it sown till late on. But we created a good tilth by disking it and then sowed it with Ironbocks and then rolled it with the Cambridge rollers. We sowed it at a rate of 2.2 kilos to the acre. So before we bring the cows in, we'll set up an electric wire. We've got the straw bales laid out in a row, and the way I do it is I roll them out along the fence line so they strip graze the kale and the straw at the same time. This year I've actually used hay because it was cheaper than straw at the time, so hopefully that'll make the crop last a bit longer. The field that it is away at the back of the farm, so we can't get on here with tractors through the winter, so we put the straw and hay in early, and it's a fairly simple job to roll it out along the fence. We have mains electric power along the back of the farm, so we'll hook onto that. You've always got to provide lieback for the cows so that they have a dry lie when they're grazing as well. Halfway through the crop, they'll probably not go back to the lieback. They'll lie where they grazed that day, but you still have to provide lieback and a source of water. Minerals wise, kale crops are fairly low in iodine, but it's really difficult to get cattle to take minerals on a grazing system like this. So what we do is we give a co-secure bolus. There are other boluses available, but the bolus I use has got copper, selenium, cobalt and iodine, so the iodine levels are kept up. So we do that before they come onto the kale. To summarise, probably the year before, check your pHs, your P&K indices. What I usually do is make sure that the weeds are controlled, so I quite often would spray docks for the previous year before it goes into kale. Fertiliser, I use 1616s in the spring and I give it some nitrogen in the autumn. The cows come on November time to utilise it with a roughage, which is hay this year, but mostly I use straw, but it all depends on the price on the year. Fencing, good source of electric fencing, good power, a lieback area, and a mineral or bolus with iodine so that they are not low in iodine. My cows will come on here, 80 cows, and they should be on here now, I would think, to the turn of the year, maybe longer, and then they're all ready for calving in the spring. We're now going to measure the kale to see what the yield will be. This is a metre square, and we'll just randomly throw it into the crop and cut some of that and weigh it, and then we'll get the yield of the crop. Square crop. So we're just going to cut this. And once we've got it all weighed, we'll be able to determine the yield of the field. $11 kilos. Right, so that's 11 kilos in a square metre fresh weight. So there are 10,000 square metres in a hectare. Multiply the 11 by the 10,000, you get 110,000 kilos to the hectare of fresh weight. Multiply that by the dry matter, which is 13.8 for Caledonian Kale, so multiply that by 0.138 and we get 15 tonnes to the hectare dry matter. So it's a tremendous crop, and just to look at it we know it's a tremendous crop. So when I bring my cattle in here, they'll be coming off deferred grazing on the hill. The lie-back area is similar quality deferred grazing, so they'll come onto that, and there'll be a slower transition onto the kale. So in the first week, the way I would do it, rather than sit in front of a computer or getting your notepad and pen out, in the first week they'll get onto the kale proper, and then you can move the fence and find out how much they're going to eat in a day. And I usually move it so that it's how much they clear up in 2 hours. So 2 hours grazing, it should be gone. And if you're giving them too much, the stems, they'll leave too much stem. So you want it down to a decent level. So it's trial and error, but just for simplistic terms, what the cattle can eat in 2 hours. And that's the way I've done it for a long time, and it seems to work well. The cows are in great condition all winter. They're the easiest calving cows on the place, and you never hear a peep out of them. They're never hungry, they're always content.